Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn, also titled The Final Empire. This is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. 39 chapters, 643 pages. I really enjoyed this book. I was about to stop reading sci-fi. I just wasn't excited about it anymore, and this totally was a game changer of a book. I really enjoyed it. I couldn't put it down. This was over 600 pages. It felt like it was a 100-page book. It just flew by. Great storytelling, great characters, great magic system. It was all just awesome. So, quick summary, maybe a terrible summary. The plot is almost like Aladdin, but set in a medieval European area. So, Sazed counts as both Abu and the carpet, and Kelsier is like the genie. And of course, the main character is a street rat. So you get all the characters. It's a lot of fun. And Aladdin's my favorite Disney movie, so this was perfect. But really, a coworker recommended this book after I had finished the Stormlight Archives series, also by Brandon Sanderson. And I really enjoyed that series as well. And he was like, hey, I did Mistborn first, and so you should check it out. And I did. Absolutely awesome. I'm back in sci-fi. I can't wait to keep reading. This is just amazing. The only downside to this book is that the chapters were a little bit longer than what I'm used to. So like I ended up finding myself stopping in like random spots that weren't chapter endings, which isn't a big deal, but can be a little disorienting sometimes. So no big deal. Yeah, super sci-fi. It really had a sense of wonder. Like the magic system is about metals. And so there are different metals for different actions. And even in here, there's a whole chart. I'm not going to go through every single one because that's part of the story. But they call it Allomancer, and each material has different abilities. So, you have different metals for pushing and pulling, and then there's some for emotions, another for strength, senses. It was just so cool. You can even use some for detecting other people who are burning metals. So just really cool, and it's hereditary in this system. So your descendants can potentially have the abilities. And there's two different types. There's regular, which we just call an allomancer, so alloy with metal and mancer with the magic, and they have one of the abilities. So they can't use every single metal, but one of them. And then there's Mistborn that can use all of them. So they're very rare to be able to use them all. And of course, the main character and her mentor are. But yeah, just really cool. It's like a whole new world in that you're experiencing the environment, but also like the magic system. To me, was just spot on. Just a lot of fun, really cool. And there is different people. There's three classes so far, and it is Terrismen, there's Noblemen, and Skaa. Skaa are the low class workers, and the Noblemen obviously are the wealthy upper class, and then the Terrismen are somewhere in between. And there really isn't a whole lot of difference between the three, like physically, and like the differences between them are not really enumerated. It's just the Skaa are oppressed, kind of along with the Terrismen. But yeah, the difference between a Skaa and a Nobleman isn't really great, which I thought was a good touch throughout the book. It was difficult to tell the difference between them, and regularly there were people that crossed groups. So the magic doesn't just come, you're not just born with the magic, you could be potentially born with it, but there's a snap is what they call it, and it's a tragic event or a tragedy or a traumatic event. That's a better way to describe it. A traumatic event happens, and then the snap can occur. And so from then on, you have either the Allomancer ability with one metal or the full ability. And it's really cool. Like, I like Brandon Sanderson in that he does that with Stormlight Archive, a similar kind of thing that, not every superhero, gets superpowers immediately. There's like, it happens to a broken person. And I really, really liked that about his style of writing. It makes it so that it's not, not everybody's Superman. It was, there's flawed characters, and it makes it more relatable and more fun. So this universe, the Lord Ruler is the Lord Ruler. That's what they call him, and he is somewhat immortal. The details supposedly are in future books, but he found a way to survive almost indefinitely, and it he almost has like a cult and starts eradicating religions that aren't his. And so he starts a religion and has these followers and stuff. And even the language, people use that as, a shocked expression, like Lord Ruler, by the Lord Ruler. And I really like that. That added to the culture, made you feel like you were a part of it right away. Something that was easily to relatable and easy to connect to. So I liked that. The Steel Ministry is the enforcers of the Lord Ruler's cult, for lack of a better word, a religion. And they have allomantic power, so they can push and pull. So they're kind of like his minions. And the Lord Ruler also created Koloss? I'm not sure. But we don't see a whole bunch of them, but they are threatened, or people, it's like a threat that he uses to keep people in checks. Supposedly they're great warriors, that kind of thing. And then mist wraiths are also. So that leads to the environment that they're in. This universe, this planet or whatever, it has ash. So there's these volcanoes, they call them ash mounts, and just ash rains from the sky. Could be periodically, weekly. It's almost like a weather pattern. It just is normal. They have to sweep the ash from the streets, people's clothing. It's just there. It's part of their world. And then also at night, the mists come out. And so there's this, these legends that the mist wraiths will come around and eat people who, are out there. So the Skaa are actually afraid to go out at night. And so most people just don't venture out at night. And part of this is to help control, the noblemen aren't afraid to go out at night, and neither is the Lord Ruler. So it's almost kind of like an impressive environment to keep people in check. Yeah, so the main character is part of a thieving crew, right? She's a street rat. She steals to survive, and she ends up getting the attention of a more powerful thieving crew who is led by a Mistborn. And so that Mistborn takes her under his wing, and teaches her all the different metals and everything that he knows. And he's kind of new too. He's only been a Mistborn for a year or two since snapping and discovering his powers. So he's got his own crew that's kind of like next level. He's got a couple of Allomancers and some regular people that are good at organizing, and they get together and decide we're gonna, do something about the way things are. So it's called the Final Empire, and they're working to overthrow the Final Empire. They're going to destabilize the nobility by starting a house war. So all of the nobility, they're, like gilded houses, and they each have a castle in the capital city, and the goal is to get them to, bicker and then eventually start a war between each other. And so each of the great houses has Allomancers and potentially a Mistborn. And so those are almost tools to use to gain power, right? Like if somebody can go out at night and take somebody out or do some task that nobody else can do, and under guise of the secrecy and the mist and all that stuff, like you could do some, cloak and dagger, you can get ahead by sneaking around. So most of the magic is either at night or used very stealthily. So also adds to the intrigue and the fun with this. So the next goal, they're going to try to raise an army. They're recruiting, but the Skaa have been so oppressed that it's really hard to recruit. And the last one is they're going to try to grab money. The Lord Ruler supposedly has a boatload of money, and it's stashed away somewhere in the city. And then the last one is to distract all the guards and even the Lord Ruler out of the city. So their goal is really to take over the city and then use that to, destabilize. But yep, great book. I really liked every bit of it. It just flew by. There were two quick quotes here. Bin's brother, so the main character's brother, is her first mentor. He was older, and he's taught her how to survive on the streets. So ruthlessness, it's the most logical of emotions. You don't have any friends in the underworld. You'll never have any friends in the other underworld. So don't trust anybody, basically. And that was pretty she just lives by that even after discovering friends and growing to trust them. So this next one is Sazed and about belief. Anyone can believe in someone or something that always succeeds, mistress, but failure, now that is hard to believe in, certainly and truly difficult enough to have value, I think. So yeah, I mean, it's easy to believe in something that always wins, always works, but failure and moving on after failure, that's tough to do. So give this a read if you love sci-fi, if you like medieval fantasy, magic, this is the book for you. Give it a read, you will not be disappointed. I could not stop reading this book, so give it a try, and remember to buy your books used.